is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a few things to discuss once again today. We have a new area of interest that has been tagged off the coast of Africa from a tropical wave that will be emerging in the next couple of days. We're also going to be looking at some more conditions as well going into September too, because it's going to be a very busy month like we talked about in yesterday's video. So we have quite a few things to discuss. So let's go ahead and dive right into it right here. Starting off right here, we have post-tropical cyclone Fernand. We're not really going to be talking about this right here. It's moving out to sea. Just thought I'd note that real quickly before we get into the main meat of the video, which is this area of interest right here. NHC just tagged this. This is as of 2 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Yes, I'm recording this very early in the morning, so please do keep that in mind. However, here we go. A tropical wave is forecast to emerge off the west coast of Africa by this weekend to the south of the Cabo Verde Islands. Thereafter, environmental conditions appear favorable for some slow development of the system as it moves westward to west-northwestward at 15 to 20 miles per hour, moving across this eastern into central tropical Atlantic through the middle of next week. We are now looking at a 20% chance of formation in the next 7 days. We're going to be seeing this is honestly actually somewhat of a long-term threat from what I've seen. It looks like the wave's going to emerge in the next 2 to 3 days in the main development region, and then from then on out, it's going to take its time to organize and potentially develop. And odds are, based on what I've seen from some of the modeling, we're not going to really see any big development until it gets further to the west of that area of interest over there. So you're going to want to pay attention to that as well. And we'll show you some metrics that kind of support that going forward. So going ahead now, we're going to go ahead and show you some satellite imagery just to give you an idea of what's going on right here. I believe it's this wave right here currently over parts of Mali right now, right there, like Mali and Niger over there. That's currently expected to move off the coast of Africa by around Saturday or Sunday. You're definitely going to want to watch that as well. That's the wave I believe the National Hurricane Center has tagged. Also looking at a more active ITCZ as well, so that's going to be interesting to see how exactly that'll interact as well. The main thing that we're going to want to watch is how is this wave going to interact pretty much once it gets to water. Will it kind of weaken and dissipate? Not necessarily dissipate. Will it kind of weaken and lose a lot of its convection when it gets there, like like waves normally do? Because where these tropical waves, by the way, for those who do not know, how they get their convection is generally from land-based stuff like baroclinic forcing, heat, all of that stuff. And by the time it gets over the water, it loses those sources of convection, and it has to kind of tap into the warm water in order for it to continue to produce convection. Aaron actually did a pretty good job of transitioning from, a tropical wave into moving into the Atlantic and not really losing that much convection right there. So that's something interesting I did want to note as well. But by and large, what you're going to want to watch with this is just kind of how this will develop once it gets not just on the Atlantic, but as it moves further to the west and into some better conditions moving forward. So that's something that you're going to want to pay attention to. Ensembles really do like this system. The operational runs are not so happy about it right now, and we'll go ahead and show you that as well. So starting off for you right here, let's go ahead and pull up the European ensembles just to give you a gist of what's happening right here. And we can actually, we can go ahead and move this over a little bit just to kind of give you a better viewing point. But here we go. This is what we have for the European. This is what we have about 10 days out. At this current point, I'm going to go ahead and scroll this down to right here. And as you can see right here, there's definitely some more support for development, but this is more so down the road and like later on in its cycle. So like by the time we get to about, I'd say at about 10 days out or so, it would be definitely more favorable. In fact, let's go ahead and go back to about 5 days out just to kind of give you a general gist as to what we're talking about. So 5 days out, this system's over the Atlantic right now, really starting to pop up in terms of the amount of ensembles this is picking up across much of the region right here, especially as it emerges off the coast of Africa. That is something new that we have not seen of so far. whereas typically we'd see it kind of come off and then start to see model support as it moves south of the Cabo Verdes. Now what we're looking at is kind of, these ensembles picking it up right as it's getting on off the coast right here. So that is a big indicator that you're going to want to watch this. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at some of the more, go ahead and go to 6 days out. And as you can see, 6 days out, things do get a bit more interesting with this. It's more spread out. I will say it's definitely more spread out compared to some of the other stuff I've seen, but it's kind of pocketed into somewhat concentrated areas. The first concentrated area is further to the northeast, and it's kind of moving just southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. Right here, and it's moving more so towards the northwest. The second more so concentrated area is more westerly. It's still west-northwest in my opinion based on what I'm seeing right here, but it is more further to the south and west. And while it's not as concentrated as the northern part of it, it is still something that you're to note as well, because at that point, we're going to want to watch and see, okay, what are these two tracks doing, and how exactly are we going to pan this out? Because what I will tell you is the kind of stuff that develops earlier does end up going more so towards the northwest, whereas if it takes a little bit of time to kind of get its act together, it's going to move more so towards the west. So we're going to want to watch out for that as well. And as you can see, going out to 7 days, definitely a lot more concentrated moving forward, especially with this area right here. You're still looking at how many ensembles is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, at least 15 out of the spread of 30 for you right here that the European is calling for. This is actually a pretty decent spread of development for development. This is kind of why the National Hurricane Center has tagged this the way it is, because the ensembles definitely like it. Operational runs don't like it right now, and we'll show you that in just a second. But ultimately, it's going to take a couple days for the operational runs to catch up to the ensembles like we've discussed earlier. So please do keep that in mind. And as we go ahead and go to 8 days out, yeah, it's definitely a lot more pronounced right here. Yes, it's still somewhat spread out going forward. However, you still have a lot of ensemble support, and while most of them remain somewhat weakened and all of that, you do start to see some more power in terms of what we're looking at with some of the ensembles as well. Definitely seeing more of that green, which is indicating maximum winds around 40 to 50 knots, which is about 50 to 60 miles per hour. So that's something you're going to want to watch. And then as we get to about 9 days out, it looks like the southern end of it does start to kind of level off a bit, and more so the northern part takes over, as you're really starting to see it get more concentrated, but at the same time it does spread out a bit more. Like in terms of like this concentration, the signal gets more concentrated, but the ensembles are a bit more spread out, if that makes sense. So we're going to want to watch out for that as well. And then as we get to 10 days out for you guys right here, it's definitely is starting to get a bit more interesting. You still have ensemble support for this for sure, but you're going to want to watch and see how it interacts with the conditions, with the shear, with the water temperatures and all that stuff, as well as how it interacts potentially with some of the environmental factors that I know a lot of people are looking at right now. So that's what we have with the European ensembles. What's the GFS ensemble showing? GFS ensembles aren't showing nearly as much of a concentrated signal as the European is, but the GDM NV3, which is one of their new ensembles here on Weather Nerds right here, is definitely showing something kind of interesting right here. And we'll go ahead and go to 10 days out just to show you this. But here's what we have for you right here, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely not as concentrated as the European, but you do still have some decent ensemble support with this right here. And you do start to notice these two discrete areas right here, one heading further to the west, one heading further to the northwest right here. It's still early. We're going to want to watch out and see how this pans out. But ultimately, that's your situation you're looking at right here. And then the other ensemble run that we have right here, the GDM for you guys, definitely more concentrated right here, the GENC right here. I believe it's the Canadian. More concentrated for sure. It's definitely going to take more time for it to organize and develop right here moving forward. I know I keep moving my cursor up and down. I apologize about that. But it's more concentrated. Definitely seeing more ensemble support almost compared to the European right here. And that's something you're going to want to watch. And we'll keep you updated on the ensemble trends, and we'll see how the operational runs react to this. But here's what we have starting off right here. The Europeans operational run that we have for you right here doesn't really show that much with that wave, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that pans out with how it pulls up going forward. Because what we're looking at with this is after about 5 days or so, you do start seeing something happening in the main development region. You do have first, before I even get to that, first of all, you have this giant tropical wave that has like 997, 998 millibars, a really strong low pressure system already affiliated with this. I know some people are saying, "Oh, it's already a tropical cyclone over Mali." It's not. It's land based at this point. It's baroclinic forcing that's kind of generating this, not anything tropical related. Once it gets to water, then it'll be tropical related. But I wanted to make that clear right away. But then as you get to the Cabo Verdes, you have the system strengthening, but at least according to this, is a 991 millibar system right here. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with this. We'll watch it, but I don't really have high hopes. But you do have the European trying to get its act together right here, and especially in the Western MDR, but it still remains an open wave right here. Ensembles definitely like it, but the question is, how are those operational runs going to react to those changes in the ensembles? Because the ensembles definitely have upticked on it quite a bit, so we're going to want to watch out for that. But ultimately, what you have right here is kind of the European favoring more of this, whatever this is over here, compared to our area of interest that we're watching. So that's the European. Let's go ahead and show you the GFS right now. GFS is also kind of interesting as well. The GFS doesn't really have that much. It's usually the most conservative model out of all of this, so it's just kind of weird, the cycle. Normally, it's the one that blows up all the hurricanes and all that stuff, but you're not seeing that this cycle, which I do think is kind of interesting, although the GFS does have maybe a monsoon wave happening in the Caribbean as well. So we'll have to watch out for that as well. We'll keep an eye on it. But let's go ahead now and go to the Canadian run. Right here, here's the Canadian as this wave comes off the coast of Africa. Okay, let's see. How does it do and how does it kind of react to the ensembles? You definitely have somewhat of a closed low potentially starting to pull up right here in the middle part of the MDR, but you're going to want to watch that. You're going to want to pay attention to that as well. We'll keep you updated on that, but the CMC is not showing that much right there. Here's the icon for you guys right here. I know the icon's not exactly the best model right here, but it's one of the things we got, and we'll go ahead and show you this. Here's what we have with the icon. Icon, curiously, doesn't really have that much happening, although similar to the European, it does have this 992 millibar, whatever this is over here, over Mali right here. That's not a tropical cyclone. Just to be clear, guys, it's not a hurricane that's developing over land. This isn't the day after tomorrow, guys. That's not how this works. So that's something that to pay attention to right here. The operational runs really aren't picking up on this just yet, but we'll have to see what happens over the next couple of days and go, okay, the NHC definitely likes what the ensembles are presenting. The question is, are the operational runs going to reciprocate, and are they going to start spitting out more potential intensity and potentially more development with these intriguing updates right here? So that's something you pay attention to, and we'll keep you updated on that here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. But now I want to go ahead and talk about conditions because, okay, we're looking at this right here. Why did the NHC tag this with ensemble support? And what kind of conditions are they looking at to kind of indicate that this may have a chance of development? Because that's my main goal right here. I want to look at every piece of the puzzle and see what exactly the NHC is onto. Starting off right here, here is your global sea surface temperatures. You are looking at around 27, 28 degrees Celsius water temperatures, about 80 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit for those living in the United States. And what you got right here is as soon as you come off the coast of Africa, you're looking at those water temperatures right there. And it's already warm enough, I will say, for tropical development to initiate. However, those aren't the best water temperatures for tropical development. And I think the NHC does have this as more of a long-term threat, in part because of those reasons right here. As you move further to the west, you're looking at your 28 Celsius, then your 29 Celsius, depending on how far west this ultimately goes, if it heads closer towards the Antilles, or if it moves more towards the northwest into this part of the Atlantic right here. You're ultimately going to start moving into 29 degrees Celsius waters, which is about 84 degrees Fahrenheit, just for context right there. But as you start to move, like I said, Better conditions further to the west, you're going to want to pay attention to it. Also looking at 31 and 32 degrees Celsius waters in parts of the Gulf and the Atlantic Basin over here, or especially around the Bahamas too, and Cuba. So especially if a Central American gyre setup starts to kind of pop up, like we've been potentially noting with the Climate Prediction Center's forecast, that's something you're going to want to take into consideration. So that's what you're looking at with your water temperatures. Here's your ocean heat content. OHC is also a similar situation, not really that good right off the coast of Africa, but as you move further to the west, you're going into your 50 OHC, you're into the 75 range soon, and then up to 100 OHC across much of these regions right here that you're going to want to pay attention to as well. And ultimately, that's kind of another key indicator that I'm looking at right here, because the ensembles are more so taking their time with this moving forward. So we're definitely going to want to take that into consideration. However, the further west you go, the better the conditions are, and it's just one of those things where maybe a tropical wave may not seem like much right away, but it's kind of a scary type of scenario because of what's ahead of it. Remember Aaron, guys, we had a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm for a long time. Didn't seem like that much, but it was a scary 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm like we were talking about on stream and all of that stuff. And guess what happened? It became a Category 5 hurricane as a result. I'm absolutely not making the claim that this is going to do the same thing. I want to make that perfectly clear. However, you always have that potential. You never know with these types of systems. You can look at the conditions and go, okay, yeah, we're looking at some potential stuff going on, and just kind of make a conjecture opinion based off of that. Showing you the wind shear now. We're going to do a deep dive on that with the European. Here's what we got for you for the 200 to 850 millibar shear right here. You do have some wind shear in parts of the MDR right here, but as we get to about 2 days out right now, that wind shear does weaken across much of the Atlantic. I will tell you that right now. And then as we get to about 5 days out, yes, you do have some shear starting to build up a little bit in parts off the Cabo Verde Islands, especially to the northwest of it. However, if that wave does emerge further to the south of this, more so towards the down sheared area of it, and ultimately what you have right here is a scenario where if this starts to generate outflow like some invests do, it's going to help generate a better circulation, generate better consolidation, better organization as well, and potentially start to get the ball rolling. But as you get towards about 7 days out, now you definitely are seeing a bit more of a favorable wind shear pattern. You do have some shear to the north of it, don't get me wrong, but you're going to want to pay attention to that as well. Conditions do become a bit more unfavorable as the system moves further to the west, as it's going to start heading in towards that wind shear right here. So I think that's what the operational run doesn't exactly like right here. But depending on where this tropical ridge sets up, will be very key as to, okay, what kind of development are we looking at and why are the models onto this? But as we get towards the very long term right here, that wind shear begins to weaken considerably, so that's something to keep in mind as well. So wind shear isn't the most favorable for this kind of development, but you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on it, especially if you want to see any surprises with this. So here's what we have with the dry air. You do have a big moisture surge coming off the coast of Africa right now. That's going to continue for quite some time right here. And then as you move towards about 4 to 5 days out, you have another bit of a moisture surge coming off right here as this tropical wave starts to emerge. And you do have a pretty considerable moisture pocket. I apologize for stuttering right there, as it starts to head towards the west right here. And as long as it stays out of this dry air and can mix it out and produce enough convection, in part because of the ITCZ and in part because of it producing its own convection, it'll have a decent environment for potential development and potential strengthening. So those are factors that we're going to want to watch, and we will keep you updated on here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close the video out right here. I really hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. The goal, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. If you want to help out, hang out, or ask us questions, join the Storms United Discord server. The link to that is in the end screen. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.